Kier Starmer may have just made the biggest political blunder of his entire career, and yes, the cameras caught every second of it. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister promised to stop the boats. So why are they still coming? That single line, delivered by Nigel Farage with cold precision, set off shockwaves in Westminster. What came next tore the mask off a government that had been carefully crafting its image for months. Because what unfolded at Labour's 2025 party conference wasn't just a PR disaster, it was political self-destruction, broadcast live for the nation to see. And if you think you've heard everything about it, think again. The mainstream media won't show you this side of the story. But I will. So make sure you're subscribed, because things are about to get darker. Labour's party conference was meant to be their celebration, their big victory lap. Red banners everywhere. Polished speeches. Carefully staged unity. Instead, it became a public meltdown. The conference hall was packed with ministers taking turns promising a better Britain. But outside those walls, the country was falling apart. Energy bills had jumped by double digits again. Small boats were still landing at Dover every night. High streets were emptying out. Public services were collapsing. And yet, inside that hall, Labour wasn't talking about any of it. Not about inflation. Not about housing. Not about the cost of living crisis crushing working families. They talked about one man, Nigel Farage. Just think about that for a second. The governing party, with all the power to change things, spent their biggest event of the year obsessing over the opposition. And not even an opposition with seats in Parliament, Reform UK has none. Labour mentioned Farage's name more times than they mentioned the NHS, more than the economy, more than schools, more than jobs. They simply couldn't help themselves. Every panel, every interview, every speech somehow circled back to Reform UK, as if they were haunted by it. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for, Kier Starmer's keynote speech. His chance to inspire confidence, to lay out a vision for Britain's future, to remind people why they voted for him. Instead, he declared war. He didn't just criticize Reform UK's immigration plans, he called them racist and immoral. He even said, Nigel Farage doesn't believe in Britain. He doesn't even like Britain. Let that sink in. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom just accused millions of ordinary voters of being racist and unpatriotic. Not in private. Not off the record. But on stage, in his flagship speech, with cameras broadcasting around the world. The backlash was immediate. Within hours, Reform UK's website crashed under a surge of new memberships. Farage's social media feeds exploded with support. And across X, formerly Twitter, thousands of people who had never thought about voting reform started to ask questions. Here's the mistake Starmer doesn't understand: when you label ordinary people as racist for wanting secure borders, they don't apologize. They double down. He thought he was isolating Farage. Instead, he gave him the biggest political boost of his life. But Labour's damage didn't stop there. Next up came David Lammy, Britain's Foreign Secretary, the man who represents the country on the global stage. Instead of bringing calm or authority, Lammy poured gasoline on the fire. He accused Nigel Farage of having flirted with Hitler Youth ideology. Hitler Youth, a phrase so extreme it left the entire room in stunned silence. Even loyal Labour supporters shifted uncomfortably. Journalists began fact-checking instantly. Social media went into overdrive. Farage denied it immediately, calling it a desperate smear from desperate men. And even media outlets usually friendly to Labour couldn't ignore how outrageous the claim was. There was no evidence. None. Within a day, Lammy quietly walked the accusation back. No apology, no press conference, just a buried statement about context. But the damage was already done, not to Farage, but to Labour. Because when a foreign secretary makes a comparison that is explosive and can't back it up, it makes the entire government look either dishonest or incompetent. And neither is a good look. Then came the hypocrisy. When Reform UK demanded accountability, Labour MPs mocked them, calling them snowflakes, saying they couldn't take the heat. Just think about the irony. The same Labour Party that demands apologies for every microaggression suddenly mocks others for being offended. The same politicians who created safe spaces and trigger warnings now tell their opponents to toughen up. Even neutral commentators started calling out the double standards. While Labour threw insults, Reform UK came armed with actual policy proposals, and they struck a nerve. One of those policies focused on something called indefinite leave to remain, or ILR. It sounds dry and bureaucratic, but here's why it matters. Right now, 1 in 6 people receiving universal credit in Britain are non-citizens holding ILR status. That's taxpayer money, your money, going to people who aren't citizens, don't serve on juries, don't pledge allegiance, and don't pay naturalization fees. They get nearly all the benefits of citizenship without any of the obligations. Reform UK said, let's review this. Let's ensure ILR is earned through work, integration, and contribution. Reasonable, fair, and logical. The kind of discussion most countries have without outrage. And Labour's response? The same one they always reach for. Racist. Over and over again. Problem raised. Evidence presented. Solution proposed. Smear deployed. Problem ignored. Then came the phrase that was supposed to win the internet, Farage boats. Starmer's team reportedly spent days crafting it. The idea was simple: to tie Farage to Brexit, tie Brexit to small boats, and turn his name into a punchline. It backfired spectacularly. Within hours, Farage boats was trending on social media not as a clever attack line, but as a national joke. Memes flooded the internet. Even Labour voters were laughing at how badly it landed. Because everyone knows the small boats crisis didn't start with Brexit. It's been building for decades under every government, Labour and Conservative alike. Years of weak laws, activist courts, and broken systems made enforcement impossible. The public knows this. They see it. They live it. So when politicians try to blame one man for an issue decades in the making, it only makes them look desperate and disconnected from reality. But the people truly suffering in all this political theater aren't the MPs, the spin doctors, or the pundits on TV. They're ordinary Britons. The single mother in Sunderland choosing between heating her home or feeding her kids. The small business owner in Birmingham trying to survive another tax hike. The pensioner in Blackpool watches their neighbourhood change overnight. The young couple in Manchester who have given up on ever owning a home. They don't want slogans or smears. They want leaders who actually solve problems. They want honesty, competence, accountability. Instead, they're being called extremists for noticing what's happening around them. The data tells the real story. Starmer's personal approval rating has dropped by nearly 20 points since he entered Downing Street. Trust in Labour's economic plan sits around 30%. Meanwhile, Reform UK is polling higher than ever, high enough that, if an election were held today, they could secure nearly 90 seats in Parliament. 3 years ago, Farage was written off as politically finished. Reform was dismissed as a protest movement. Now, they're reshaping British politics, forcing debates the establishment spent years avoiding. Labour loves to talk about spreadsheets, data, and evidence-based policymaking. But spreadsheets don't lower energy bills. Charts don't fix broken public services. PowerPoint slides don't stop illegal crossings. At some point, theory has to meet reality. And when it doesn't, people lose faith. History shows what happens when elites ignore the public for too long. The public takes matters into their own hands. That's what happened with Brexit. That's what's happening across Europe right now. And it's starting to happen here, in Britain, all over again. Every insult Labour throws at reform only strengthens Farage's message. Every smear confirms his central claim that the establishment fears the truth more than it fears losing power. Here's the great irony. For years, Labour insisted that Brexit was a disaster, that controlling borders was impossible, that voters were misled. And now, Starmer stands at the podium promising to secure Britain's borders and control immigration properly. So which is it? Were Brexit voters right all along, or is Starmer lying now? He can't have it both ways, but he's trying. and the public can see straight through it. This story isn't just about political drama. It's about something far bigger, the future of British democracy itself. Do leaders still listen to the people, or just lecture them? Does your vote still matter, or is it all just theatre? Walk down any high street, not in London, but in ordinary towns across the UK, and talk to real people. They'll all tell you the same thing: something fundamental is broken, and the ones claiming to fix it are the same ones who broke it. So here's the question. Is this the moment Labour's credibility finally collapses? Can Starmer recover, or is Britain ready for something entirely new? Because make no mistake, this story isn't over. Labour is doubling down. Reform is gaining ground. The public is paying attention. And something big is coming. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth political commentary, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into the world of power and politics. Thanks for watching.